I mean, it's been fairly obvious since the beginning that this show is taking real current events and then just dialing it up a bit to make it seem extra ridiculous. However, it's not really dialing it up nearly as much as it should have to have the show seem this outlandish and ridiculous. But this is the world that we live in, and showrunner Eric Kripke is here to have fun with it. And even though this season isn't off to the strongest start that it could be, I still think that there's a lot to be excited about with the future of The Boys Season 5, so let's talk about it. We got a double episode drop this week, and I'm excited to talk about both of those. But before we do, I wanted to tell you guys that I do have a discount code for NORDVPN in my description that you guys should very much consider checking out. In a world full of horrible starlighters who are out there trying to corrupt the world with wokeness and cancel culture, you need anonymity online, and NORDVPN is the best way to ensure that those radical starlighters cannot track your online presence. You know what they're doing. So check that link in the description if you want to take advantage of that discount. Now let's get into things. In the premiere episode, the gang is working to expose just how corrupt and dirty Homelander really is. And they do so at one of his rallies, which kind of does look familiar, doesn't it? This rally, it looks very familiar. Now, Starlight ends up showing the entire audience the truth about the flight that Homelander allowed to crash in that first season, and you can see the horror in the crowd and of course on Homelander's face. The audience just did not want to believe that the so-called savior of America could do anything wrong. And Homelander was so worried that his fans were going to turn on him that he was almost about to burn that entire audience with his laser eyes. Now this next part is very, very disturbing because when Homelander is on Truth Bomb with Firecracker, they end up spinning it so that that video is taken to be AI. This is something that I'm legitimately concerned about taking place in our real world because I'm pretty sure it's already happening. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new scapegoat, and it is called AI. And mark my words, even though this series is fiction, this whole argument that, oh, this is just AI, that's going to be used in the real world for sure. Say, for example, that someone doesn't want to admit that they have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Well, then they could just say, no, that was a photo that was rendered by AI. That video was made up. None of it's real, guys. It's all fake. These people are so desperate for a savior figure, someone to look up to worship, that they are willing to accept any kind of truth, even if it is fake. As I said, guys, Eric Kripke is not giving us pure fiction here. He is tapping into reality a bit. Things that he's showing us in this series are happening in real life. He's adding a little bit of extra flair, but not nearly as much flair as he should really have to. So with Starlight firmly in his crosshairs, Homelander comes up with a plan to draw her out, and that plan is to kill Huey and the others that are locked up in a camp for Starlight terrorists. I'm really hoping that the idea of locking up people in camps is going to stay fiction, and let's not go back to that, but in this world that we're living in, the things that I'm seeing, I just can't be too sure. Now, this information of the execution gets leaked to Butcher, who, by the way, knows it's a trap and decides to go forward with it anyways. He gathers up Kimiko and Starlight, and they hatch a plan to rescue the guys. Starlight even asks A-Train to help with this rescue, but this homeboy has seen way too much stuff, and he has his family that he's concerned with, so he says, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you out. However, in the end, A-Train does do the noble thing, and he comes and helps out with that rescue mission, and then he ends up getting chased down by Homelander, and he gets killed. It was really unfortunate. But with his dying breath, A-Train did manage to chip away a little bit more at Homelander's very fragile ego. During this rescue mission, it is revealed that priority number one, the first person that needs to be rescued from this prison, is for sure Frenchie, because they need him to help finish that virus. And obviously this rubs Huey the wrong way when he sees that Starlight picks up Frenchie and takes off. He's thinking, hey, what the hell, you just left me behind. And that does end up leading to a little bit of rockiness between these two. I really want to jump back to this scene earlier in this episode with Butcher and his dad. Do you guys think that he went through with killing his dad? I tend to think that since they didn't show it happening, that he probably didn't kill him. But at the same time, Butcher lately is becoming a straight up villain, so maybe he did do it. Oh, and let's go back a little bit further with this rescue. Getting into this compound, this character is absolutely one of the weirdest characters that they've shown in the series. And that's saying a lot because this show has so many weird ass characters. There's a guy with a stretching dick. There's a person in Gen V that has pubes that come out and grab people. It's just really weird. And I found myself laughing at just how absolutely disgusting this guy's powers are because This show, it's like, all right, they're just crossing the line even more. At this point, nothing can really shock you too much, but this somehow did shock me a little bit more than I expected. This character was disgusting, and this scene was gross. In the second episode, we see the gang pushing forward with a plan to test the soup virus. And we can also see in the start of this episode that Homelander is very much cracking at the seams. Not that he hasn't always been cracking, but he's cracking at the seams even more than before, and that is because of A-Train's final words. He is feeling a lot of guilt. A-Train really got to him because he pointed out something that he knows to be true, which leads him to unthawing Soldier Boy. Now, he tells Soldier Boy that he unthawed him because he wants him to help find Butcher, but it's pretty obvious that Homelander feels abandoned, alone, and sad, and he's just looking for that fatherly bond. He's achieved all this power, he's got everything going for him, he's got the status, he's got the power, he's got the fear, and yet he doesn't have love, and that's why he's got these daddy issues. And he's looking for love in any place that he could find, and he'll accept submission if that's what it takes. And I can't help but feel like, again, this is kind of like someone else we know, right? With the virus now complete, Butcher tells the gang that he has a plan to test this virus before they end up taking it to Homelander, and the plan is to test it on a soup called Rock Hard, who is very much taking inspiration from The Thing. The plan was to capture Rock Hard and bring him back to the lab, but when they get there to capture him, they see that Homeboy is mega big. He has been letting himself go. So the plan changes, and they decide, okay, we're gonna do this experiment right here in this gym. Elsewhere, having been told by Homelander that posting anything negative about him or in support of Starlight should be a punishable offense, Sister Sage gets a hold of the president and tells him to use his power to start patrolling the streets and arresting supporters of Starlight. Because why not? If you're not his friend, then you're his enemy. Don't say mean things about Homelander and don't say mean things about the other guy. Part of the team handling the roundup of the Starlighters is a character named She-Line and Jetstreak, a pair of influencers who are using these roundups to try to get viral videos. Now, if you've never seen influencers out there in real life, this is pretty much how they act, and it is kind of weird and silly. It does look stupid, and they do come off as really, really annoying, but at the same time, they're making money, so who am I to judge? As Soldier Boy catches up to Butcher, the two get into a fight, and he ends up leading him and Jetstreak to the gym where Rock Hard is supposed to get exposed to the virus. That virus ends up killing Jetstreak and Rock Hard, and it appears to kill Soldier Boy, but we find out in the end of this episode that Soldier Boy is not dead. Now, either that means that this virus is not all it's cracked up to be, or there's something extra special about Soldier Boy. Now, one thing I've heard people online say that could explain this is that the version of Compound V that Soldier Boy got is very different than the version of Compound V that the other more modern soups have been getting, so that could very much explain why he didn't end up dying. I'm also assuming that very soon we're going to be seeing Maria Moreau and some of the characters from Gen V, because that show is very much connected to this, and I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't end up being the virus that kills Homelander, but Maria, because her powers do seem like they could actually kill him. Personally, guys, I'm never very good at predicting future storylines, so take that with a grain of salt. But man, oh man, is this going to be an interesting season. Now, these first two episodes, I have to be honest, there's something that is a little bit lacking for me. I feel like I'm not quite feeling the magic as much as I did when this series first started. And maybe part of the problem is that I feel like I'm living in the world of The Boys in real life. So when I walk outside and when I turn on the TV, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that is taking place in this series, and maybe it's just a bit too much to live in this world and then turn on the TV and see more of it just a bit worse. But this is the world we're living in. I'm definitely excited to finish this season, and I do know that showrunner Eric Kripke is feeling nervous about the way fans are going to react towards the end of this series, and I'm not exactly sure why he'd be feeling that way. It's not as though there's toxic fandom out there. So guys, that's my thoughts on the first two episodes of The Boys Season 5. Go ahead and put your thoughts on it in the comments. Let me know, what did you think of it? If you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.